Welcome to Journey at Zero Zeros. Together with us today is Yee Xuen. Yee Xuen is a Malaysian born on the year 2001, and he's actually another co-founder of the Malaysia After High School podcast, and he studied in University of Melbourne studying commerce and had a variety of working and volunteering experience throughout university, and currently he's a creative strategist for a US advertising firm, and he's also doing freelance social media advertising. So yes, Yee Xuen, is there anything that I missed out that you would like to add on?
So far so good. I think would love to get started, man. And thanks so much for having me on the pod.
Okay, yes. Just wondering, what prompted you to join all the competitions and volunteers in the clubs when you're in university? Because I saw your LinkedIn, it's filled with all these amazing experiences.
Oh, good question. I started off doing Come Society when I was in high school. So I find a lot of joy just challenging myself and trying out new things. I think that's what drove me to do a lot of Come Societies. I think specifically it started when I was in high school. I wanted to try out entrepreneurship. And unfortunately and fortunately, my when I asked my high school, like, oh hey, do you guys have an entrepreneur club? They're like, oh well, we don't really have one. So I was like, okay, let me just start one then. So when I got my first taste of how it's like to join a club and also to start my own club, I was like, oh wow, it's actually quite fun. Like planning out extracurriculars and trying out, and then the achievement of seeing something that you built from scratch is quite fulfilling. So that's when I decided to continue on a journey and try out more club societies and specifically towards like even doing more entrepreneurship stuff. And all the way to college, I also replicated that model. I feel like it really helped me to grow and learn from different people because when I was in Sunway College, I wanted to meet people from different parts of the whole school. So I don't want just stuck with known people from college. I want to know people from uni. So that's when I joined like TEDx Club or Isaac Club. That's when I really got inspired to learn and meet different people from all walks of life. So yeah, that's pretty much what inspired me.
Interesting. So, what made you curious in? Because I noticed you said entrepreneurship all the way back in high school. You were interested in that. What what sparked your interest in that?
So it all started when I started watching Shark Tank, and I find it very exhilarating when I look at them try, especially the startup founders trying to pitch their idea to the investors, and investors trying to justify why they should put their trust and, to be honest, their hard-earned cash to people they never met before, and just like few minutes technically. So I just found it to be very interesting, and that got me interested. It's like, oh, it's quite fun to really have something of your own idea and you want to like share with more people. And plus, because my dad himself is an entrepreneur, so that really inspired me to have a role model to learn from. And I thought to myself, oh, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I start my own business and I can really do something I really want? So that's pretty much what drove me towards entrepreneurship.
I see, I see. Interesting. Why did you choose to study commerce after when you went into university?
So I started doing. I kind of know what I wanted because when I fall in love with entrepreneurship, I asked myself, so what are the skill sets do I need to become an entrepreneur? Then I was like, oh, wait, based on the pitch, you gotta know finance, you gotta know like accounting, all that stuff. So I was like, you know what? Let's go into commerce specifically. So I know that since high school. So when I plan my college onwards, I kind of know my route already. I kind of know that's the path I want to go to. So because of that, I just made a plan and stick to it slowly and gradually. In my high school, I still hedge my choices. I have like both science and commerce subjects just to play it safe in case if I realize it's not my thing. But when I went to Sunday College, I realized that oh, it's I do really enjoy commerce a lot, and because I do this kind of societies outside of studies, that really time and time again prove to me that it's something I really want to do compared to science, to the scientific field. So I was like, you know what, let's just go all in and see what happens.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, when went to you went to University of Melbourne, right?
Yeah, that's right, that's right. I went to Unimel, say 20. Oh, it's been a while. Oh my God, 2020 or 2019. Don't quote me on that, but
Wow,
it's around there.
pre-COVID. Yeah, how
Yeah,
does it feel like
pre-COVID.
moving? It's not that far, Australia, Malaysia. Moving to Australia to study. How does it feel like that way?
I would say it is very interesting because that's my first time ever going abroad alone. So what's funny was like I went there with basically like not with a group of friends because unlike some people who go through Monash and they do like 1+2, like 1 year in Malaysia and then 2 years in Australia, I just went straight since my first year. So it's sort of I'm making a preparation. Okay, I gotta go there and make friends from scratch, right? And having a circle of friends. So it's kind of scary, to be honest. But I think that really got me to push myself. Say, you know what, have fun, and you're already out there. Might as well just see it as an opportunity to meet new people. So I sort of treat it as an optimistic scenario and try to make the best out of it.
I see, I see. Okay. So you've been staying there after graduation and then now you're based in Melbourne, is it?
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. I studied for my first year in Melbourne, but when I went back for my second year, because of COVID, so I got stuck for second, third year, and I sort of graduated off virtually. So to all those people who did the same as me, yeah, it sucks. Not really recommended. I
Totally,
mean,
I
screw
totally
that.
get what you mean.
Yeah. So after that, then I only came back after I finished my uni for my graduation, and I also started. Fun fact: I sort of work online remotely. I started my remote gig in a way during
Mm.
my final year when I got in contact with one of the Chinese advertising agency in Melbourne. When I was in Malaysia, I was like, oh, you know what? I wanted to work with agencies, and I would sort of work once in Malaysia, and I thought of working with in those in Australia. So of so I managed to get to reach out to one of the Chinese agencies, and they are happy to take me in, surprisingly, and they actually love the fact that I know Mandarin and English because they have clients they are servicing that will be requiring that specific skill set. So I was like, ooh, thank God I'm a Malaysian, kind of know both languages. So that got me a taste of how it's like to remote work. So I work
Mm.
Aussie time, but
Oh
at the
wow.
same time it's I can also do my studies and I'm at home, and I was like that's what my family, they're like, what is this guy doing, man? Like, he's getting paid sitting at his home, like remote working 100%. Isn't that like
Don't have
that's
to
like
rent, don't
bonkers?
have to pay rent and all that kind of stuff. Cook
Yeah,
food
and plus
all
like
cooked in the kitchen.
yeah, and plus some people was like they can only do like half like a hybrid, but no one has
Mm.
really tried a full remote yet in my family. So that's why I'm like kind of the weird odd one out. Like even my friends, they're like, "Oh, you work online like 100%? Isn't it? Are you sure it's not a scammer?" So those stuff can happen, but yeah, I think that's pretty much what started my career there.
I see. How did you find remote working? Because personally, I spent the past 2 years doing remote as well. Yeah, so I'll share mine after you share yours. I don't want to change your opinion.
No, no problem. Always happy to meet new fellow remote workers. So I would say remote working is very fun when you're at home, when you're a student, specifically when you're
Mm.
studying online, because that really gave you something like you feel like, oh, I'm so productive, compared to just studying at home and you can't do anything besides studying. But after you finish your studies and you graduated and you work remote 100%, that's when you're like, oh shit, you have friends going out hybrid, they have new colleagues, they go out to makan with, or like they go adventure together. And like I'm just sitting there alone, I'm like, at my desk, and my colleagues are like, I have one colleague who is far away in like Egypt, and I have one colleague who is like in the US. Time zones are very different, and it's just too hard for me to really text them like, oh hey, you wanna like grab a coffee? But bro, they are like far away in the opposite time zone. When I wake up, they're already asleep. So I also work alone a lot of times. I can't even connect with them. I only have 1-2 hours to talk to them before they clock off. So it
Mm.
can be quite tiring for remote working, but I think it's more on finding ways to entertain yourself. So for example,
Oh
I
wow.
took advantage of that. Because I'm in Melbourne, so everything is quite nature-ish. So I just hop on a bus and go to the beach and remote work for the rest of my afternoon. I go to the
That's
hutan, and just
amazing.
chilling, go for a walk botanical gardens. So I'm glad that I'm in a place where it really helps me to explore the nature side and really gave myself an escape from my home. So nature is kind of like my best friend right now, sad to say. So a lot of my friends, I love to hang out with them, but they are working in the office, so I just have to entertain myself. So I would say it's more like finding a way to entertain yourself when you are remote working. I think that's the key thing. What about yourself though?
I see. Yeah, good question. Because I started 2 years ago remote working, and I'm quite in a similar case as you, but just that my colleagues aren't. aren't that far away compared to yours. They are still in other countries. They are spread all over Europe. But yeah,
Oh, nice.
like spread everywhere. But the funny thing is that my manager is the one that totally advocates for remote working. That's why the whole team is like mostly remote working. But for me, yeah, initially it's definitely fun, like because like I am not staying in London, like my office is based in London, but I'm in Nottingham, so I can get the advantage of, paying minor rent and yeah, stay with my friends because I just straight come out of uni and all that. But the thing is, yeah, it does get worse. You just stay in the house all the time and all that. But I wasn't as smart as you, where you know that, oh, I should just go to the beach, or I should you go to the botanical gardens. It's only towards the really the end of my tenure before I resigned that I started doing that. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I felt that it's terrible. Yeah, because like, it's really just 1 hour of Zoom calls every day, like daily stand-ups. But you can't just it's too focused on the meeting, too focused on updating the work and all that. So you can't really do
yeah,
small talks. You can't really like chat with them and all that. So yeah, I personally right now I'm finding a new job and I would prefer hybrid, like have some physical meetup and
right.
all that. They can hang out and all that. I think
Oh
I
my God.
personally feel like that might be better.
That's amazing. Yeah, I get what you mean. Like sometimes my remote working can be so bad that like my meetings is like literally I have one meeting like every 2 3 days. So like there's like 1 or 2 days I never talk
Wow.
to anyone like virtually on a call. I just text them and I have to wait for like 2 3 hours when they get back to me, or even 8 hours for example. So
I
that
see.
is something funny. But interesting
Mm.
enough, I actually gone through hybrid as well. Then maybe I can share
Oh,
some perspective when I'm in
yes.
Melbourne, for those that are listening that is looking to get into the hybrid space. So it's kind of fun for hybrid spaces because let's say you get to arrange your time off. Let's say at home, let's say some days you feel lazy, you don't want to travel. Okay, you know what? That is a very good way to do so. But if you go to like office and you can meet new people, catch up with them, small talk, and that's when you really force yourself out. You're like, oh, come on, I'm here in the office, might as well just say hi to the person at the corner, you know? It's kind of scary at first, like, because I start from remote, then I jump to the hybrid, and then I jump back to remote again. But before that, in my hybrid experience, I find that because I'm in an Angmo country, so Angmos are pretty friendly. Like, they are willing to talk to you. Like, in fact, they
Mm.
love small talks. Like, before they do anything, they're like, oh hey, how's the weekend, man? And then I at first when I was new, I was like, oh yeah, my weekend's perfect. And I spent like 10 minutes, and he's like, uh-huh. I'm like, oh, actually, I have something to ask you. And I was like, oh, okay, you don't want to be friends with me. So it's
Yeah,
more like
yeah, it's
getting
just like
used to it.
a courtesy to have start a small talk
Yeah,
first.
yeah. And one time it's like I want to go to the toilet, and then he just passing. One of my colleagues passed by, and then he was like, "Oh, how's it going, mate?" And then I was like, "Good." And then before I finished saying anything, he just went straight into the toilet and slammed the door behind me. I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" And then this guy just want to talk to me. So it's kind of funny to see how it's like when I'm doing hybrid work in a Angmo country like Melbourne. It's just people are
Mm.
very understanding as well. So that makes it like actually not too bad of a place to do hybrid,
I
and
see.
I find it fulfilling. Like it's kind of fun, but
Oh.
it's just that I got lazy like transporting around. You know, it's always saying the grass is greener on the other side, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I'm
Once
having that
hybrid, then you'll be
dilemma.
like, maybe remote is better.
Yeah, and then after that, I'm like, oh, maybe hybrid is better. Oh, and then a few months I was like, oh, maybe remote. So you gotta take your own poison. Whichever poison you take, it's up to you.
I see, beautiful. Yeah, but what brought you into digital marketing specifically?
So when I want to do entrepreneurship, I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. That's why I studied commerce, which is like it allows you to take different subjects to figure out what you want. So I started going on internships. So since I'm in college, so I think that's the easiest way to find what you like by actually going to job and besides come society. So that's when I applied everywhere and I realized that they all asked me, so because you're new and you don't have any experience or industry knowledge to back up some of the jobs you might want to do, why not you try marketing? And at first I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense because it is like an entry level internship that anyone can do, and the barrier entry is low. I just went in, I give it a go, and I started to enjoy what I'm doing, especially when I find it very fulfilling when I can see the results right away because I work in an industry where I can there's a really quick and fast feedback loop similar to because I'm
Okay.
kind of in the tech side. So I do like Facebook ads and all that. When I put in X amount of dollars, I can see X amount of return right in
You
front of
can
my
see the
eyes.
metrics and all that in
Yeah,
real
it's all popping
time.
up, like, and then that's when I can talk to them, and I kind of know whether my work is it am I doing a good job or am I doing a bad job. Like there's instant feedback right away. So that got me hooked, and I'm thinking like, oh, it's so fun. And plus, in the world of marketing, I also get to know people from an e-commerce space. That's when like before e-commerce got a big push, and I really realized that a lot of people were like marketers and suddenly have their own business just through marketing, and that's when I feel like maybe I can spend my time learning the craft of this, and maybe who knows, I might become an entrepreneur someday thanks to this marketing skills. So that's what got me interested in it.
Oh wow. And so you're now doing like basically you're doing freelance digital like social media marketing and all that as well, is it?
So I do both. So I have a full-time job, yes, but I
Mm,
also use my time to do freelance or slash consulting basis because I post on LinkedIn sometimes sharing my ideas and thoughts on how people can apply marketing into their own sector and industry. So time and then slowly people start to DM me like, oh hey, I actually need help. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, let's jump on a call and see how it works. So it really helped me to get in touch and experience different industries because I come from an
mm,
agency background. So agency is basically they throw you whatever brand, you just deal with it. So I really like that. So I also reach out to them out of my own free time when I'm off work. And that's when I started to get this freelancing gigs time and like here and there. But it is pretty fun. Like I even tried one client that sells supplements for older people who is like
mm.
being forgetful and they need to take this to boost their brain. And also some is like I even have clients that are selling gun like those what you call that, the vest for you to wear on. So I have clients from the
Bulletproof
US.
vest or something, is it?
Yeah,
No?
bulletproof vest. Yeah,
Oh,
so I
oh,
have
oh.
a range of clients, like to be honest, and it's quite fun, like figuring out what each industry is doing. So yeah,
I see. What's the biggest challenges, working freelance?
so in terms of being a freelancer means that you dictate the price, and there's always price arbitrage out there. And when people look for you, they sometimes I have the challenge of I would tend to undersell myself because I don't want to oversell them something and they ended up not liking it. But rather like,
Mm,
I charge a little bit lower than competitor. I can deliver, because I am someone that who doesn't want to overpromise. So I have that dilemma like, okay, maybe I'm undercharging sometimes. So
mm,
it's hard to find how much you're worth. So the way I do it is I look at my hourly rate, my full-time job.
oh,
I was like, okay, if that is my baseline, so that's something I'm going to charge. So that's how I sort of use it to sort of gauge, okay, how much time do I need to put in for this, and then I sort of figure out a rate, and then I talk to them. So I think that is the challenge and my solution as well. So trying to beat my own doubts by finding out, okay, people are already paying me this rate for my full time job. I deserve that rate at least. So that's how I find out what I can charge for my clients in terms of freelancing basis.
I see. Wow, that's amazing. I really love that tip, man. But how do you find balancing a freelance gig and a full-time job?
I find it very interesting because
Oh.
in the realm, like, because sometimes agencies, because my clients are on a different time zone, so they do message us out of our working hours. But I'm glad that my job is very chill about it. They allow us to arrange our own time.
Mm,
So I have that ability to work on other side projects. So the way I find it interesting and I'm grateful for is my brain tends to like to explore around because I'm so curious. I like to try and look at different things all the time. So it really helped me when I'm taking on freelancing clients at my full-time gig. So let's say I am doing my full-time job. Let's say I'm finishing this task. I was like, oh, I'm kind of burnt out, man. I don't have any ideas anymore. What should I do? And then that's when I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just jump onto this freelancing client I was working on. Maybe I have some ideas. And then I finish that, and then I have some ideas for my full-time gig. Then I jump back into that. So it feels like I'm giving my brain a break by jumping through
mm,
different channels rather than just being forced to sit there and figure it out. So it also helps out when I'm traveling to places like botanical gardens or beaches. I have to take public transport, so I use the time
mm.
to work. So when I'm on the bus, I just turn on my data and I just started working. So when I hop on the bus, some of the people sitting beside me, they're like, "Oh, mate, you can still do that? Like, you can still work when the bus is like it's like shaking like crazy." I
I
just
see.
bobbing like that, but I managed to do. I managed to be quite productive somehow when I'm on the go. So I felt productive. I
Mhm.
can go to places and work. So I don't feel like I'm wasting time traveling, but rather I'm using that time to force myself to work rather than sitting at home and watching YouTube videos and TikTok. So it really helps me to focus in a way. And that really trains my project management skills in a way by
That is
doing so.
amazing. When's your worst burnout moments?
So my first worst burnout moment is my first job when I came here to Melbourne. So my burnout happens is when because it's my first job and I didn't really know what to expect. So I always try my very hardest to do go above and beyond.
Mhm.
And I am those person that like work crazy hours so to make sure I'm able to deliver a good result. So that's when one day I got very tired. I think I worked until like 9. Then I was like, oh man, what am I doing with my life, man? And I suddenly got very tired and I didn't want to do anything. And the next day I come back to work, I still felt that there's a brain fog going on within my head. And I just thought, like, you know what, maybe I need a break or something. So the next day when I was working at home, I just took a nap and it really gave me an idea like do I really want to do marketing, like is this something I really want, because sometimes it can be so busy or just so demanding that you just run out of ideas since it's a very
Mhm.
creative based work in a sense, so you can't really put a time on getting good ideas out, especially the ones that clients will like it. So having to find that balance got really put myself in a position where I'm getting burnout. So that's when I sat there and really contemplating whether I should quit and just take a break for good. So that is my lowest point. But what happens after is when I took a walk and I asked myself, like, oh, hey, do you really enjoy it? Is it just because you're overworking? And I was like, yeah, probably I'm
Mhm.
overworking and I don't feel like I'm being compensated well. So to work that many hours. So that's when I was like, you know what? They are not paying me for these excessive hours, might as well just take a break and work to whatever limit you think it's good enough, and then I can have a more balanced life. So that's why I taught myself like, oh, I should go travel here. Starts with that's why I started traveling as well. Let's say pushing myself, oh, maybe I can go to the park 5 minutes away, or like, and that start to become maybe it's like 20 minutes away. So I slowly challenge myself to really be more open and trying to relax myself. So that's why I find nature to be a very good way to deal with my burnout. So that's why I love to go out all the time and use that as a way to balance out my stress and also clear out my mind and giving myself time to really be creative by not purposely thinking about it and let it come to me. So yeah.
I see. Amazing. I really love that. But one personal question. Where do you go during winter?
So winter normally it is very it's a
Depressing.
shitty season. So normally I'll go to museums. So that's
Oh.
one. I'll go to let's say if I'm going to a library, and then I'll go to museums. I like to hop to museums. I like to hop libraries because
Mm-hmm.
in library I feel like I am able to surround myself around with people who are there to do something like do work. So like, oh shit, I gotta focus, bro. I can't scroll my phone. So library and museums. Sometimes I even go to forests as well because I'm a
Forest.
beach person. So I go there. I go to the beach during summer, but when I am in the forest, I feel like it's also the air is very fresh. So it really sort of gave my brain like a booster, like, oh my god, like the chills just wakes me up sometimes when I'm feeling tired. So I was like, okay, you know what? Okay, I'm good now. Let's go back. Let's go back to work.
I see, I see. That's amazing. I'll take that tip, man. Because yeah, I think start this year, when I started, I realized the same thing. Then I was like, I should get out of my house more often. Working
Yep.
in, I was working in library, and then sometimes even like when I was traveling, I just didn't take leave. I'm on the train and just like, yeah, let's take the pay. And then I'm working
Yeah,
on the
man, why
train a
not,
bit
bro?
because like,
Who knows, man? They never know. And what I like about it, I think for Angmos, they're quite understanding and they don't really poke and ask around like in terms of invading your privacy. So you really
yes.
can they trust you as an adult, rather than
Mm,
micromanaging you as a kid. So I think that's why it makes it very perfect to remote work.
yeah, yeah. Especially if, of course, it's important to get your job done. As long as we get our job done, it's
Yeah,
totally
nothing
fine that
matters.
wherever we are and all that, like they
Yeah.
don't care.
I, I like how when I'm interviewing with my boss, I ask them, so how do you guys track time? And they look at me, they're like, how
Of
old are
course.
you already? You know, like you're an adult, bro. Like do whatever the fuck you want as long as you get it done, bro. Then I was like, okay. So yeah, and then I asked my manager the same thing, and she's like, yeah, oh hey guys, I'm going off to the beach with my friends, so let me know. I'll get back to you ASAP. Cheerios, and then went offline like in 2 p.m. Just texting in a company chat like, hey, you guys are going to the beach. I'm like, what the
Serious?
fuck? Yeah, what the fuck, man? Like, I was like, okay, but then she came back off on work, so it's more
Mm,
like the trust culture. Like, if you get shit
mm,
done, like within the agreed timeline, why not? Who cares, man? Who cares if we take a break? So that is something what I like about it. In
mm.
fact, is that they also encourage people to take breaks when needed. Like, oh, we actually want you to take leave. We want you to relax and go on holiday when you need to, because they don't think it's very effective to force you to sit there for every day and not take leave at
Yeah,
all, because they are like, nah, I'm not productive myself. Why should I expect others to be productive 24/7? So I was like, okay, that's good.
absolutely true. Absolutely true. That's amazing. I really love that. Yeah, you talk about the amazing parts about working in Australia, but just wondering, was it tough? Like living there, like from your student all the way working.
Yep, I think the tough part is there are different components, I would say. One would be when I'm in Melbourne working in my first hybrid agency, especially when I work with locals, and more specifically, it's really hard to be friends with them because they have a very clear work-life separation compared to Asians, where they are there, they were friendly, but you can tell that they are not interested to take a step further to be actual friends with you. So they just
I
cock
see.
off, get their bags, and went back. But when I'm with my Asian colleagues, we actually talk to each other, and then we spend time after work, sometimes go for a quick hangout, and then it feels like very natural. We just get to know each other personally. But for Angmos, they put a real boundary, and they don't really talk
Mm,
about their personal life often, or normally just dabble in a little, and then that's it. So that's one part. The second part is the cost of living and also the tax. So when you are staying here in compared to Malaysia, Malaysia has low tax. And
absolutely.
so when I'm here, when I told people how much I'm earning, my Malaysian friends like, wow, bro, you earn that more when you go back become millionaire, bro. Then I was like, wow. And then I laugh. I was like, bro, my 50% money is tax, bro. So 50% of my pay is getting taxed. So after I convert, it's actually not as big of a difference as I thought. And
Mm,
plus, the rent is always a big issue here because I'm staying in a student heaven. So a lot of people like to come here to study. So all of them sort of just push up the price of renting a property here. So that makes rental very, very expensive all the time. So rental, like interpersonal connections wise, you can't get that as close to what you get in Malaysia. Because when I
mm,
used to do internships in Malaysia, people hang out after work. It's a culture. It really depends on what you want. But what I find tough is like, because I'm from the uni, coming straight from uni to work, I feel like it's tough because I'm used to, let's say, you are doing group assignment, you hang out, then you slowly get back to work again. So that really feels very different when I'm working in Melbourne, because it's like everybody just like group assignment. Okay, my group assignment stops at 5 p.m. I'll see you guys tomorrow for group assignment. But then
I
Asians
see,
is
I
like,
see.
oh yeah, you want group assignment now? Okay lah, I WhatsApp you later lah. Then it's very different in a way,
Mm,
and with Asians it get very personal, but Angmo is just like they have hard stop on what they want to talk about to you. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest challenge, and also sometimes occasional racism, which is very common
I see.
in all parts of the world. But when I'm in Melbourne, like one time there's one person just sort of yell and mumbling some racist chants at me and poured like, and then literally just like took the orange juice and just like tossed it at me. And then I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, dude, calm down, bro. And then the guy just walks away and chanting some racial slurs. So it's very normal to
Mm,
really have that situation. And I would say the biggest one is sometimes you feel very alone, especially I am a remote worker in a foreign land, and there's no family to reach out and talk to or banter on. And it can get very lonely sometimes when you're really thinking about, okay, is it really a good place for me to really settle? Because I don't really feel like I'm at home, if that makes sense. So it's more like I, as lovely as the place it is, it can never replace the home I
Oh,
know of back in Malaysia. So yeah, that's what my challenge is.
I see. I see. How do you let out like the frustration or anything, or when you yeah stress, rant, and all
Yeah,
that?
I know. So for me, the best way to relieve stress is to enjoy like as much as I could the small little things. For example, some people might see cooking as a very boring chore. I know it can be very
I
boring when I
agree
first
with you.
started learning how to
I
cook.
quite like it.
Yeah, but I actually enjoy it in a way because I was like thinking, oh yeah, every day what should I cook? Then I look at recipe books to motivate myself. So instead of seeing it as like, oh, just another prep for my lunch, I always see it as, oh, you know what? Let's try this dish and that dish. And so that really got me through by appreciating small little things, even going for walks as well, trying to immerse myself with nature really helps me in going to the direction where or the path where I'm like, oh man, everything's so depressing, I hate it. I'm more like I'm trying to embrace what I have around me and try to make the best out of it. Enjoying small little things or even talking to people, strangers sometimes, like just to have a good conversation. And yeah, I think that's pretty much how I cope with the loneliness when I'm in Melbourne as well.
I see, I see. Oh my God, yeah. Do you find it hard to make friends after getting to a workplace?
Yes, very tough. Uh, I would say, especially I am not local, one, and I know jack shit about AFL. So it's an Australian football, for those that are not sure. It's basically rugby, but Aussie version. So I didn't know anything. So when I first came to office, my colleagues like, oh hey, you watched the game, mate? Oh, Sydney Swans beating the crap out of Western Bulldogs. And I was like, sorry mate, I don't watch AFL. And then they're like, oh, wait, well, we got a tipping. If you want, you can pitch your money in or something. And I was like, oh, no thanks. so so that's why it's like, it's kind of hard to really make friends and to do all that. So it's tough, man. It's really tough.
I see, I see. Wow, really? It's not easy. I can see your struggle, and then like I quite agree with that. Like, yeah, living in the UK, because even within university as well, when I came here for only the final year. So
Oh,
definitely
man.
when I'm on the third year, so like like everyone in the class itself already have
They know each other.
like they already have their groups and all that. And then even if you do get to join them, the things they talk about, the references they have, like what they watch and all that daily and all that, it's not what we watch and all that. I guess it helped a little now do we actually watch Netflix and all this, which are a lot more global, but like they still watch a lot of their local shows, so you don't get all the references like I don't know
Yeah,
what
man.
you watch and all that. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
sports wise it's definitely slightly better here. Premier
Oh,
League,
really?
it's like quite global, but
Oh, dude.
like
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I wish I was in the UK, man. Like, actually, I was thinking of going to the UK to study if I'm not going to Australia. And I was
mhm.
like, you know what? It's my jam, man. I can talk to them about football all day long. When I went there to Australia, I was like, oh, you guys have football? They're like, not really. And then it's like, you want to you want to go AFL? And I was like, oh, no. But funny enough, like I would say Melbourne, I see a big divide. Like
Hmm?
when I first came to Melbourne, the one language I improved is not English, it's actually Mandarin.
Oh. Oh
Because
really?
because
Is
when
it
I'm there,
so
right,
saturated with Asians?
it's like when I went there, I feel like I'm in Chinatown when I'm in the city. It's all like mainland China students walking around, and all
Wow.
of them speaks Mandarin. Even the stores are in Mandarin, like dual language, Mandarin and English. So I don't feel like I ever left Malaysia. It's just I went to a more authentic Chinese place. Like literally. So when I make friends in uni, and plus the smart ones are actually Chinese
Hmm?
students. So when I hang out with them, they all have funny enough, they have tuition classes for
For
uni.
university?
Yeah, they even have cheat sheets for their assignments. So I stalk around, I join their free classes. Yeah, they are willing to pay big bucks for private tutors, man. All the tutors from uni, their after side gig went straight to the tuition for Chinese students. So I just follow them for free classes. I even have a friend who, when we're doing assignment together, he just buys the answers and pass it to us and said you're welcome. And we just got a H1 after that. I was like, that's
Oh
mad,
shit.
bro. That is mad. So that's why I find it very interesting and really changed my perspective on Melbourne. So I don't feel that alone when I'm in Melbourne. And plus, there's a lot of
Hmm?
Malaysians around me and in Indonesians. So it's really not that far away. I think from the UK it might be more diverse. Like you have more people from Europe, so it's like
Yeah.
maybe more balanced. But us is just highly Asian. So when I went around, walk around, I was like, oh, am I still in like Malaysia, Singapore, like maybe the Bangsa area? So
They flew back to Malaysia accidentally, actually.
yeah, it's like, wow, have I ever left Malaysia? So I think that's what I find it very interesting when I'm first time in Melbourne. So my Mandarin improved, but only slightly later when I finished, when I first joined like Malaysian Club Society, that's when I start to balance back. It's like, okay, you know what, more English, and
Mhm.
with my job, okay, more English. So that's when it's more balanced now in a way, and maybe now I use more English more often than my Mandarin.
I see. Okay, that's amazing. Um, have you suffered or are you suffering quarter life crisis?
I think I do actually. In a way, I would say my quarter life crisis is on how I befriended with in the marketing world. It's mostly career. So
Mm,
my challenge is I saw a lot of peers the same age as me. Like when I'm talking to my seniors, my seniors like, oh, so what you gonna do, man? What's your next step, bro? I was like, I don't know, man. Then he's like, really? When this influencer is your age, they're already doing this, and this, man. You gotta pick up the slack and start hustling, bro. Context, they're all Americans, so Americans they have a lot of side
they have a
hustles.
strong hustle culture.
They have a strong hustle culture. So when I talked to them, I was like, oh, really? I need to do something? And then that's why I really got stressed out. I was like, fuck, man, what do I want to do, bro? Because I thought I want to take it easy and then slowly build it up. But my American colleagues are like, nah, man, just do it, bro. Like, fuck it. What happens if you lose everything? Like it's fine. That's life. And then that really hit me hard. And when I compare it with my friends who just graduated, they still don't know what they want. So I kind of got stuck in the middle. It's like I'm kind of the first batch who started work, and I
Mm,
got in contact with the hustle culture. But my friends are still like, oh, relax lah, like just chill, bro. Like there's nothing to be worried about. So I'm stuck in the limbo. Sometimes I want to hustle, but sometimes I also want to relax, like just with my friends, just enjoy.
mm,
So I think that's my quarter life crisis, like really figure out what I wanted to do. And
mm.
I don't have any specific one. I feel like starting my own business officially. So that's like my quarter life crisis right now. I
I
feel I'm
see.
not good enough, especially when in marketing world, it's like everybody can be someone. So it's just very stressful in a way for myself as well.
Okay, okay. Do you find it hard to I don't know how to find your own people?
Yes, I would say it's really tough, and it involves listening to a lot of podcasts and also talking to a lot of people, more seniors to be honest,
Mm.
and talking to everybody like, oh yeah, what should I do? Do you guys think it's a good idea? Like in fact I do. I think what guides me right now is more on let's just try it out, like just give it a go. And my idea is okay, instead of going thinking about what happens when you hit 100%, let's just think about what happens if you did that 1%, just one step. Maybe that one step could be a big leap for others, but it's a journey, and I rather try something, give it a go, rather than just overthinking and just not do anything about it. So I rather try it out a little. If it doesn't work, I can just pull back. It's fine. So I use that as a way to encourage myself to do the things I like or I want. So yeah, and meeting new people as well, like hopping on podcasts. That's why I started my own podcast where I try to figure out what and who should I learn from. So that's when I interview people from all over the backgrounds and really understanding their position and really gave me a new perspective on doing things.
Oh, so you actually have a podcast right now.
So
Is
it is a long time ago. It's called Worldwide Marketers. So that's
Oh,
something
I
I
see.
use to interview like marketers all over the world where I am not sure what I want to do in my career, and I just basically thought of, oh hey, it's kind of weird. I just DM the influencers or the creators I really want to chat with. I was like, oh hey, why don't we do a podcast? And then surprisingly, they all said yes. And I was like, oh shit, like they said yes. What should I do now? I was like, okay, then I guess I'm gonna set up a podcast then. So I'm very glad that everybody was so helpful and willing to share their stories, and they're so nice and encouraging to me. Even when I fucked it up, they just gave me an advice. Oh, it's okay, like we're all learning. So I'm really glad I am able to use a podcast as a way to really figure out what I want, well, by asking them good questions and them not saying it's a dumb question and just trying to be very patient and explaining to me what I want to do. So yeah, I think that's what really got me into who I am today and my career. Because of the podcast, it solidified the fact I wanted to do this specific part of marketing in
Mm.
specifically, and really helped me to have a better career, so to say. So I think it's more like just trying to figure out a way by talking to people and figure out how it goes. You never know what's gonna happen.
It's amazing, man. I'm really impressed by like the reason of your podcast. Like it started accidentally because when you're messaging and all that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's tough,
same
man.
for me as well. Like, cause it's only earlier this year that I realized I can actually just cold message people and just because I'm now entering into venture capital. So I'm just like cold messaging venture capital people and ask if they're willing to go for a coffee chat and all that, just to understand about it. And yeah, people are, if people don't want to, they won't reply at all. No harm. If they are they reply usually. Yeah, they're quite nice, and then they will agree to come
Yeah,
on the call and all that. It's really
I
lovely.
agree. Yeah, when I first have the idea of doing a podcast, I asked my colleagues and one of my senior. I was talking to my senior, and my senior was like, "Oh, why not you just ask this person?" And then because I really enjoyed the person's content, and then I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
really? I'm not sure whether I can get him or not. He's kind of famous." And then my senior was like, "So what if he says no? You know, if you never ask, you never know." And
Yes.
funny enough, the person said yes in my first try. And when I hop on the pod, I was like, "Oh, I'm so grateful that you said yes, because I never know that it could happen." And the person just said something to me that I still remember until now. It's like, you never know until you ask. So that really got instilled into my mindset. So that's when I have something, I'm just willing to shoot someone a DM and just ask them a question. And if they don't reply, like you said, no harm. Like it's fine. Sometimes I don't reply as well. But if I do, then if they do, it could be a good conversation, and we never know what's gonna take us.
Amazing. I really love that. What's your biggest achievement up to today?
So far, my biggest achievement would be around, I would say, changing my career trajectory. So a bit of context is, in marketing, there's different roles, and I was in role A, where I'm more on just operation side, and that's when I have burnout. I was like, oh, I feel like I can't do this, and this, because I feel like I'm not really loving my job anymore. So that's when I realized there is a new trend, a new job coming up in the advertising scene, but I wasn't sure if I'm the right fit or I can deserve to change instantly. So that's when I decided to start a podcast, like we talked about just now, and start to interview people in that specific new field, the up and coming ones, and I'll ask them, so how do you become that role? And that's when they all talk to me what they did, and I absorb like a sponge, and I apply that in my interview, and I actually got a job, like just like that. I switched. It's still in the same industry, but it's a very different job scope or job role. And when I looking back, I still can't believe that I literally pulled it off. By if I didn't talk to those people, I wouldn't have the
Mm.
courage to apply for this new career that I'm going into now and kickstart this fully remote life. Because without those conversations, I wouldn't be given like the know-how or even tips and suggestions. And when I talk to them in my interviews, I tell them like, because they ask me, "Oh, you're not in this role completely. Why do you want to do this?" And I said, I just ask other people, and I realized this is what I want. And my company felt like I have the passion, and not just doing it because I want the money, but because I'm heavily invested in. I have passion for it because I host my own podcast. So that's when they
Mm.
are impressed, and they really encourage me to, oh, you know what? We rather hire for personality fit than skills. Let's get you right in. And I was like, oh
That's
shit, okay.
amazing.
So yeah, that's pretty much something I'm really proud of at the moment.
Amazing. I really love that. That is. I hope that happens for me as well. Okay.
Yeah,
I should really tell
who knows,
more of
man?
my interviewers that I actually reached out to people to learn more about this particular industry.
Yeah, man, who knows? Maybe like you got so fed up, you start your own business, and then that's when you are talking to venture capitalists as a founder, and then they will be like, "Oh, hey, you want to join us?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of my plans. One of my plans. Not now yet. Maybe if the current plan doesn't work out, that's a plan B.
I mean, come
Yeah.
on, man, the sky is the limit, bro. And I'm really so happy to be on this podcast, and really happy to share all the stories and all that stuff. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, one last question. What's the one thing you love about yourself?
I would say the one thing I love about myself is always open to different perspectives, and
Mm-hmm.
open to new challenges. So when I got approached by something, instead of saying no, it can't happen or it wouldn't work, I'll be thinking about, so what if it works?
I love it.
It's a double-edged sword, like it's I am more of an optimist, so I always like to dream and think about, oh yeah, let's do this, and then I sometimes I actually do it. Like for example, the podcast, I thought about it and I literally just did it without thinking too much. So that's why I am so grateful, because of my willingness to execute things. Like I dare to dream and I dare to execute. So I am very proud of myself for that personality fit. Some people might think it's like kind of crazy, but hey, it's kind of fun though. Like you never know what's gonna take you. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like, I believe you have the result that you have today is because of this personality you have, and then like all the things you have done because of this personality as well, like all the experiences on your LinkedIn. If you didn't just go ahead and do it, you wouldn't
yeah,
have reached
exactly.
where
Yeah.
you are today.
Yeah, when I started going come something, I was like, you know what? Like, what can they say? They just say no, and then okay, let's fine. Like, just move on. That's life. Then I was like, okay, let me just try. So maybe it's just that I'm not scared of getting rejected. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's sometimes when I'm just thinking, just give it a go. If it fails, what is it gonna cost you? Like the cost of losing something is not that big. So that's why I just joined a lot of crime societies without thinking too much. So yeah.
I see. That is amazing. So yes, thank you, Yee Xuen, for joining this podcast. So if the audience would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
Oh, the best way, you just LinkedIn me on there. I'm pretty active. It's like my social media right now rather than Instagram, sadly. Like that's pretty much my
I mean,
escape
people
right now.
people choose their own ways, like
Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
people
There's
were
no
like
right
showing me
or
the
wrong
TikTok
way.
trends. Like, I was like, oh man, sorry man, I'm on LinkedIn, bro. Like I've been paid to scroll TikTok every day and I'm really tired of those shit. So yeah, you can LinkedIn me. I will just let Andrew just drop in my handle, and yeah, feel free to connect and let me know if you guys have any questions. Happy to help out if you want to know anything more about marketing, specifically advertising. Always there to help.
Yes, okay, definitely. I'll drop Yee Xuen's LinkedIn and down below. So yes, thank you everyone for listening and watching. So if you really do liked it, please like, share, and subscribe. And yes, follow on Spotify as well. Do give us a rating, 5 star if possible, if you really enjoyed it. So yes, thanks everyone for listening, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Catch ya.
Remember to subscribe to get notified as new episodes comes out weekly, and please share the link of this podcast to anyone you think would enjoy it. This is Andrew Xuan from the Journey at Zero Zeros podcast.